January 23, 1960, a man was locked inside a tiny steel chamber, barely enough room to move. The chamber was called Trieste. Outside that chamber, the pressure was so extreme that if even a small crack appeared in the 12-centimeter thick glass window, the man inside would be dead in less than a second. No rescue, no second chance, nothing. That man's name was Jacques Picard, and he was slowly going down, down, and further down, and even further down. For 5 hours he kept descending. The ocean above him was getting darker, then completely black. No sunlight, no sound, just pressure. When he finally stopped, there was only one thing beneath him, mud. And in that mud, something was moving. A living creature, at this depth, where scientists had declared life is impossible. But what was this place, and what exactly did they find down there that shocked the entire scientific world? Because friends, more than 60 years later, what we have discovered inside the Mariana Trench is something nobody expected. Some of it is beautiful, some of it is terrifying, and some of it will make you question everything you thought you knew about life on Earth. Let's understand this story in today's video. The deepest point ever reached by human beings. A place more unknown than the surface of Mars. What they found changed science forever. Today, we'll go to the deepest place on planet Earth. We'll understand how it was discovered, what lives down there, what humans found when they went inside, and most importantly, what dangerous secret the Mariana Trench is hiding right now that directly affects every one of us. Friends, first, let's understand, where exactly is the Mariana Trench, and how did it form? In the western Pacific Ocean, near the island of Guam, two of Earth's tectonic plates meet each other, the Pacific Plate and the Mariana Plate. When two tectonic plates collide, one plate slowly slides beneath the other. This process is called subduction, and over millions of years, this subduction created a long, narrow, crescent-shaped trench on the ocean floor. This is the Mariana Trench. It is approximately 2,550 kilometers long. That's longer than the entire country of India from north to south. And at its deepest point, a place called Challenger Deep, it reaches a depth of 11,034 meters. Let that number sink in for a moment. 11,034 meters. Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, is 8,849 meters high. If you picked up Mount Everest and dropped it inside the Mariana Trench, it would still be buried under more than 2 kilometers of water above it. That is how deep this place is. But friends, here's the shocking part. For most of human history, we knew more about the surface of the moon than we knew about the Mariana Trench. Why? Because space exploration got billions of dollars in funding. NASA had the full support of governments, media, and public attention, but the deep ocean, it was ignored. The victim here is knowledge itself, decades of scientific curiosity, buried under bureaucracy and budget cuts. It wasn't until the Cold War that things changed. And the reason was not science, it was war. The United States Navy needed to understand the deep ocean because Soviet submarines were hiding there. Military pressure did what scientific curiosity could not. And that is how, in 1960, the first human beings finally descended into Challenger Deep. Jacques Picard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh boarded a vessel called the Trieste. This was not a normal submarine. It was a bathyscaphe, essentially a steel ball attached to a float filled with gasoline. The gasoline kept it buoyant. To go down, they released iron pellets as ballast weights. There was no engine to power downward. Gravity pulled them down, and the only way back up was to drop more weight. The descent took 5 hours. At around 9,000 meters, a crack appeared in the outer window of the Trieste. The entire vessel shook. Both men sat completely still. Neither spoke. The crack was in the outer non-pressure window, not the inner one. They were still safe. Barely. They kept going. At 10,916 meters, the Trieste touched the bottom. And what did they see? A flatfish, approximately 30 centimeters long, sitting on the ocean floor, calmly, as if nothing was unusual about living under 11 kilometers of crushing water. Walsh later said, "In that moment, every theory about life in the deep ocean was proven wrong. In one single observation. If life exists here, it can exist anywhere." So the mystery was solved, right? Humans reached the bottom. Life exists down there. Science moves forward. Not quite, friends, because after Pickard and Walsh came back up, no human being returned to Challenger Deep for 52 years. 52 years. The most extreme environment on planet Earth, visited twice in human history, and then completely abandoned. Why? Because it costs approximately $10 million per dive. The engineering challenges are almost impossible, and governments saw no immediate military or economic benefit. So the Mariana Trench went dark again. But here's what nobody was talking about during those 52 years of silence. Scientists were sending unmanned probes down, and what they found in the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench was something that broke their hearts. Plastic bags. At 11,000 meters below the surface, in a place no human had ever been, they found single-use plastic bags sitting on the ocean floor, candy wrappers, plastic bottles, industrial waste. In 2018, a study confirmed that the Mariana Trench has some of the highest concentrations of microplastics ever recorded on Earth. Higher than heavily polluted rivers in China, higher than coastal areas near major cities. Think about that. The deepest, most remote, most unreachable place on this planet, and we filled it with our garbage before we even properly explored it. A small shrimp-like creature called amphipoda, found at 11 kilometers deep, had plastic fibers inside its body. Not near its body, inside it, in its digestive system, but in the middle of all this darkness, one man decided he had seen enough waiting. Not a scientist, not a government official, a filmmaker, James Cameron, the director of Titanic and Avatar. In 2012, Cameron built his own submersible. He called it the Deep Sea Challenger. It took him 7 years and millions of his own money. On March 26, 2012, James Cameron descended alone into Challenger Deep. Alone, in a 4-meter-long torpedo-shaped vessel, in complete darkness, with 11 kilometers of ocean above him. When he reached the bottom, he spent 3 hours collecting samples, filming, and observing. He described the bottom as a lunar landscape, vast, empty, silent, but not lifeless. He found microbial mats, colonies of microorganisms, living directly on the ocean floor, feeding not on sunlight but on chemicals seeping out of the rock. This was extraordinary, because it meant life on Earth does not need the sun to survive. And if life doesn't need sunlight on Earth, then moons like Europa and Enceladus around Jupiter and Saturn, which have liquid water oceans beneath their icy surfaces, could potentially have life too. One dive into the Mariana Trench, and suddenly the possibility of life in the universe became much, much bigger. Okay, so now we understood the Mariana Trench, right? Cameron went down, found microbes, science is happy. But friends, the story doesn't end here, because what scientists discovered in the last 10 years about the Mariana Trench is something that no textbook prepared us for. For a long time, scientists believed the Mariana Trench was essentially a dead zone. Too much pressure, too cold, too dark. Nothing complex could survive. They were completely wrong. Let me tell you what actually lives in the Mariana Trench. First, the snailfish. In 2023, cameras captured a snailfish at 8,336 meters depth, the deepest fish ever recorded. It looks almost transparent, pale white. You can see through its body. It moves slowly, peacefully, completely adapted to pressures that would crush a human skull like paper. Second, the Dumbo octopus, named because of its ear-like fins that look like Dumbo the elephant. Found at extreme depths. It flies through the water by flapping these fins, and it is genuinely adorable. Third, xenophyophores. These are single-celled organisms. One single cell, but some of them grow up to 20 centimeters in size. They are the largest individual cells on Earth, living at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, quietly, for millions of years. Fourth, and this one is the most unsettling, researchers found active microbial life inside the rocks of the trench wall itself. Not just on the surface, inside the rock, eating the minerals, converting chemicals into energy, completely independent of the surface world. Life finds a way, always. Friends, the Mariana Trench teaches us something far beyond marine biology. It tells us that we are still beginners on this planet. We have explored less than 20% of Earth's oceans. The Mariana Trench alone, a place on our own planet, is more mysterious than Mars, more unknown than the moon. And we found microplastics there before we found answers. But here is the hopeful part. Every single time a scientist or an explorer went down into that darkness, they came back with something that rewrote the textbooks. Jacques Picard proved life exists at extreme depths. James Cameron proved a single determined person can go where governments wouldn't. And every unmanned probe that goes down today finds a new species, a new chemical process, a new reason to believe that life is far more resilient and creative than we ever imagined. The Mariana Trench is not just a hole in the ocean floor. It is a mirror, reflecting back at us exactly who we are, a species capable of incredible discovery, and at the same time, filling the world's most unreachable places with plastic bags. The question is, which version of ourselves will we choose to be? If this video made you think, tell me in the comments below. Do you think life exists in the oceans of Europa or Enceladus? Yes or no, and why?